Today's Sunshine Note is titled, God with Us. Behold, the virgin shall be with child, and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which is translated, God with us. Matthew chapter 1, verse 23. Do you know what your name means? You can probably find out by looking it in a book of baby names or by searching online. I have discovered that my name, Nancy, means grace. Hundreds of years before Jesus was born, Isaiah prophesied that a miracle would take place. That's what today's verse refers to. The promise was passed on for generations, and people waited, watched, and hoped for the one who would be called Emmanuel. To some people today, the name Emmanuel doesn't have much significance. But to the Hebrew-speaking people in Isaiah's time, it meant everything. They were thrilled when they heard the prophecy. They knew that the name Emmanuel means God with us. This is what the universe had been waiting for ever since sin first entered our world. On that day, we humans lost daily face-to-face communication with God. The more time passed, the greater our separation became. Almost immediately, selfishness, jealousy, hatred, anger, lying, stealing, and the worship of false gods became common, separating us from God. If we choose not to have God with us, sooner or later, we humans feel an emptiness. So we search for other things to fill that space, such as choosing the wrong friends, partying, and making poor choices about what we watch and listen to. But this Christmas, you don't have to feel empty. God has given you a gift. His name is Emmanuel, and He is with you. When you realize that Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us, we can no longer say, "No one understands how I feel," because He does. He really does. He has been there and experienced life the way we have. Isaiah 53 verse 3 says, "He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain." When Jesus was on earth, He experienced being tempted, judged, bullied, laughed at, and gossiped about. People hurt Him physically and emotionally. His grief was so great that He wept at the grave of His friend Lazarus. He was lonely in the Garden of Gethsemane when the disciples fell asleep. He understands what life is like for you. He gets it in a way no one else can. So this Christmas, celebrate the fact that you've been given the greatest gift of all, Emmanuel, God with us. Emmanuel, God with you. Behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which is translated, God with us. Matthew chapter 1, verse 23. May God bless you today.